On the way home for the holidays, my husband Joshua and I were in an accident. When I opened my eyes again, we were back in college. Before we'd even started dating in my last life, we were married for 7 years. Our home was a place of quiet respect, but never warmth. He wouldn't even give me a child. It was only later that I found out his heart had always belonged to someone else. His first love, his old flame. After being reborn, I decided to set him free. We silently deleted each other from our contacts, kept our distance, and chose different lives. 7 years later, he was a top trader on Wall Street. At our college reunion, he and his girlfriend, Isabella, officially announced their engagement. Seeing me still single, he couldn't resist a smug taunt. Sienna, he said, a smirk playing on his lips. I know I was the best man you ever had in both lifetimes, but you don't have to stay single forever waiting for me. I ignored him and reached for my son's hand. The color drained from Joshua's face. His eyes, suddenly bloodshot, locked onto me. You said you'd love me for a lifetime, he hissed, that you'd only ever have children with me. We met again at the Northwood High reunion, 7 years after we'd both been given a second chance. I'd just come from a marathon session of back-to-back surgeries and was too exhausted to change. So I walked straight into the ballroom in my scrubs. Joshua was the center of attention. His arm wrapped around Isabella's waist as he soaked in the praise. Joshua, you're incredible. Just a few years on Wall Street and you're already one of the top rising traders. You're the pride of Northwood High. No kidding. I heard the big shots in New York pay just to have dinner with him. The consultation fee alone was in the 6 figures. That's more than most of us make in a year. Hey Joshua, I've been dabbling in stocks. How about you give an old classmate some inside info? Help a brother out. Then, a curious voice cut through the noise. So Joshua, are you and Isabella getting engaged soon? Joshua's gaze softened as he looked down at her. We are December 5th. A fresh wave of congratulations erupted. An old friend chimed in. Joshua, do you ever talk to Sienna anymore? You two were so intense back in the day. I heard you wrote your first song just for her. At the mention of my name, I saw Joshua's smile tighten, his eyes darkening for a fraction of a second. Isabella, however, just laughed it off. A picture of grace. Oh, you, she said, her voice light and charming. Joshua and I are getting married. You know how it is, high school hobbies don't last. And neither do high school romances. He moved on from Sienna ages ago. The crowd chuckled, turning their attention back to what a perfect couple they made. But I knew the truth. He wrote that song for me the night he confessed his love. We were a classic campus romance, love at first sight. He'd looked at me with such sincerity and said, Sienna, look into my eyes. I love you. The eyes don't lie. And I believed him, but in our last life, his eyes had lied. I walked into the ballroom, my expression calm. A classmate, with sharp eyes, spotted me. Sienna, you finally made it. What are you wearing? You couldn't change into something more formal? Don't tell me you just got off work. Where are you slaving away? There are successful people here, you know? They could hook you up with an easier job. A few people snickered at my casual attire. I paid them no mind, offering a polite, distant smile. From the moment I entered, Joshua's eyes were fixed on me. Long time no see, I said, my voice even. He seemed taken aback for a moment, his expression unreadable. Then a mocking smile spread across his face. Sienna, after all these years, you haven't changed a bit, still no ambition. Isabella's gaze was venomous. She deliberately tightened her grip on Joshua's arm, leaning into him as if staking her claim. Joshua, don't say that, she purred, her tone dripping with false sweetness. She might be having a rough time, but we shouldn't rub it in. Life's already hard enough for Sienna. She looked me up and down, her lips curling in a sneer. But really, Sienna, what is that outfit? It's a choice. You're not getting any younger. A woman has to take care of herself, or how will you ever get married? What man wants a woman who looks like she's given up? Do you want me to lend you some makeup? At her words, a ripple of laughter went through the room. The contrast was stark. Isabella was draped in designer labels, her makeup so flawless, it looked airbrushed. Every strand of hair in place. She radiated the effortless confidence of old money. I, on the other hand, had just stepped out of an operating room after nearly 24 hours without sleep. I looked and felt like a ghost, utterly drained. My comfortable sweats were a no-name brand I'd grabbed from a random shop. There was no comparison. No, thank you. I'm fine, I replied, simply taking a seat and helping myself to the buffet. After a high-intensity shift, I was starving. This is for old time's sake, he said, his voice laced with condescending pity. To help you out, do something nice for yourself. Get a more respectable job, buy some new clothes, learn to love yourself again. He paused, sighing dramatically. Sienna, the past is the past. You need to stop dwelling on it. If it weren't for you, well, it doesn't matter now. What matters is that you don't let my leaving ruin you. Don't just give up on life, okay? I looked up at him, genuinely confused. The unfinished sentence sparked my curiosity. What had I supposedly done in our last life that made him abandon me so completely in this one? In our previous life, we went from high school sweethearts to the altar. He had his musical dreams, and I wanted to be a doctor. Both paths required immense time and money. One of us had to sacrifice. Because I loved him, I gave up my spot in a prestigious medical research program and got a job right out of college, supporting both of our dreams on my single income. He failed again and again. With every rejection, he grew more bitter, more withdrawn, and like a tireless charger, I'd come home exhausted from my own job, only to spend my nights patiently soothing his bruised ego. I thought he understood my love. Then came the day he wanted a new guitar. When I told him we couldn't afford it, he flew into a rage and smashed his old one against the wall. Do you know what she said? He'd screamed at me, his face contorted. Isabella told me to go with her to the States. If I'd listened to her, I wouldn't be living this miserable life. I regret ever getting together with you. After that, he stopped playing. His dream died, and his words, I regret ever getting together with you, became a mantra that haunted my nights. I made one last desperate attempt. I held him close and whispered, Joshua, I want to have a baby with you. He shoved me away, his eyes filled with a disgust. I'll never forget. Are you insane? Look at our finances. How can we afford a child? Besides, I've told you before, I hate kids. I don't want to have a child with you. Those two sentences shattered the last bit of hope in my heart. That year, on the way home for the holidays, a large truck crossed the median. In that final moment, I felt no fear, only relief. Now, reborn, we had both chosen to keep our distance. There was no need to dredge up the past. I calmly pushed the check back across the table. No, thank you. I don't accept things from strangers. His brow furrowed. A stranger, Sienna? What's that supposed to mean? I can buy my own clothes, I said calmly. And whatever my job is, I find it perfectly respectable. I'm not ashamed of it, and I certainly haven't given up on life. You should give this money to someone who actually needs it. He stood there, clutching the check, his lips pressed into a thin, angry line. Isabella glided to his side. Seeing the check in his hand, a flicker of understanding and rage crossed her face, but she quickly masked it with a gentle smile. Sienna, if you don't want our help, that's fine. We'll offer you something more concrete. I recently opened a high-end nail salon on Bellevue Avenue. You can start as an apprentice. The pay isn't great, maybe $6,000 a month, but you'll learn a real skill. That way, if you ever hit rock bottom, you can at least open your own little shop. What do you say? Interested. It's got to be more respectable than what you're doing now. I continued to eat, unperturbed. Thank you for the kind offer, but I'm very happy with my current job. I have no plans to change careers. A voice from a nearby table called out. Sienna, just take it. Yeah, seriously. You're already in this state. What's the point of having face? The only reason to come to a reunion when you're doing this badly is to network. Stop putting on an act. Isabella chimed in with a saccharine, sweet voice. Everyone, please don't say that. Maybe Sienna really loves her job. She turned back to me. Sienna, we're only offering this because of our shared history. Don't let your pride make you miss out on a good opportunity. I genuinely didn't understand this desperate need to shove money and a job at me. Really, I don't need it. Thank you. Isabella's smile remained, but her eyes were filled with contempt. Joshua crumpled the check in his fist. You can't help someone who won't help themselves, he sneered. Fine. Stay poor for the rest of your life for all I care. His insult seemed to be a signal. A group of his buddies swarmed my table, bottles in hand. Sienna, you look like you could use a drink. Come on, one glass and I'll transfer you $1,000. One of them slurred, his eyes raking over me sleazily. If you're really desperate, I can add a little more. The other classmates just laughed, and no one stepped in to help. I frowned. This reunion was nothing like I'd imagined. If I wasn't waiting for someone, I would have already walked out. Just as I was about to call for security, Joshua, who had been watching from the side, suddenly stubbed out his cigarette and grabbed the man's arm. His eyes were ice cold, his voice laced with fury. Back off. The man yelped in pain, his wrist caught in a vice-like grip. Isabella rushed over, tugging on Joshua's sleeve. Joshua, what are you doing? His expression remained frigid. It's called being a decent human being. This is a reunion, not a frat party. He shoved the man away. The guy didn't dare challenge Joshua, but he shot me a venomous glare. I couldn't help but glance at Joshua, surprised that he would defend me. Isabella looked like she was about to grind her teeth to dust, but she forced a smile. I heard the young heir and the CEO of Apex Holdings are having a meeting upstairs. If we're lucky, we might get to see the richest man in the city. Her announcement sent a jolt of excitement through the room. The CEO of Apex Holdings was a legend, handsome, wealthy, and still in his 30s. He was known to have a 5-year-old son, but his wife was a complete mystery, never seen in public. Does that mean we might see his wife tonight? I'm so posting this to TikTok. This is a major scoop. A few minutes later, a group of bodyguards escorted a small boy into the ballroom. The crowd went wild. Look at that entourage. That must be the young heir of Apex. He's so handsome. The same guy who'd harassed me, now nursing his wrist, turned his frustration on me. Sienna, if it weren't for Isabella, a wage slave like you would never even be in the same room as the prince of this city. If I were you, I'd get on my knees and thank her right now. Maybe you'd not only get a good job, but also land a guy like me who makes $6 grand a month. Pathetic. I ignored him, my gaze fixed on the little boy. Everyone else swarmed forward, phones out, snapping pictures and recording videos. Even the ever-composed Isabella put on a friendly, almost fawning smile and approached the boy. Hello there, little one. Is there anything you'd like to eat? Auntie can get it for you. As she spoke, she reached out to pinch his cheek. But to everyone's utter astonishment, the boy, surrounded by his security detail, paid no attention to any of the adults. He walked straight past them, his eyes fixed on me. His face broke into a wide, sweet smile as he launched himself into my arms. Mommy, you're finally here.